Chinese character, which is the character Tie, which means in Chinese between. And imagine that, so you have two parts, the roof and the two pillars below the roof. So at the top of the roof, you would have China. On the left, one belt, that is the Eurasian dimension of the New Silk Road. And on the right, the maritime dimension. And the two pillars on the right would be here for the corridor, China, Yunnan, the province of Yunnan within China and Myanmar. And at the, on the left, the corridor China, Xinjiang, the western autonomous region of China, and of course Pakistan. So it's also a way for us to visualize in a more simple way the one belt, one road. China is the country of the Great Wall. China is the country which built also the Grand Canal. Infrastructure, in a sense, is in the DNA of the Chinese culture. It is why also I ask all of us to really pay attention to this ambitious and global Chinese diplomatic vision.
First, I think if I start with China, I really believe now that the growth will come from outside. The New Silk Road is a clear topic for that and a clear example. It's a long-term vision and it will happen. This is very sure, very clear. We know that it will happen because when a leader in China is saying it will happen, it will happen. Then everyone is running behind, but you know that the project will go through, right? So again, growth for me, very important, coming from Chinese investment made outside of China. So directly related to this New Silk Road strategy. Then after, I would say, what does it mean for China? I believe that, you know, because of this investment being made abroad, there is a big soft power strategy involved here, in which, in a way that actually the Chinese investment will have to be a positive investment, and will have to grow, will have to help countries growing, especially the, you know, Kazakhstan, all the North, I mean the ex-Soviet, you know, Republic countries. I really believe that there is a big need of growth, a big need of infrastructure, and the Chinese investment is helping, but in a soft power way. I think this is quite important. So I think what it means for, again, foreign business is to try now and to try to see what are key sectors in which partnership could happen specifically for that project, in a way that the bridge can be made and in a way that the benefit is win-win for everyone. China is leading, it's China initiative, but it's China not only with Chinese, but it's China with other foreign companies.
The bank, let me start off by saying, is only 2 months old. So, you know, we are a startup, we are absolutely at the infancy of this organization, and we're building up the bank from the ground up. So the world today looks very different from the world of 50, 60, 70 years ago, and yet we still have many institutions, especially international institutions, that reflect the global balance of forces, if you like, that existed 40, 50, and 70 years ago. We will work in a complementary fashion, in a complementary manner with the World Bank, with the Asia Development Bank, with the Africa Development Bank, and so on and so on. However, there is that sort of deep imbalance that is being corrected, and BRICS is a political formation, and the new development bank as an institution is part of that whole redesign, if you like, of the global architecture. For us, it's all about the doing things in new ways and exploring how we can leverage of the fact that we are a new institution without the baggage of legacy systems and the baggage of all of the bureaucracies. How can we innovate on the existing business models that exist? And the way to do that is to bring in people from outside the industry. We are hoping, and this is really some of the new things we're trying to do, to bring people in even from outside the finance industry and begin to ask the questions, what if?
What can Europe learn from the startup spirit, and how can it integrate more of the startup spirit in its future? Where do we bring an additional value? Where can we actually in the future bring an additional value to this world, and then what we actually can learn so that we become really also stronger for the future and don't lose what we actually have and what we have built up over such a long time.
And to amplify a point you made early on, this is about the value of long-term planning. You made reference to Europe, but I think it's also applied to many other jurisdictions, and that is, whilst the market is the most efficient allocator of resources, at the end of the day, our problems, and this is one of the things we learned specifically, one of the insights from the World Economic Forum, our problems are long-term, interconnected, and there are no short-term solutions to most of the issues that the world face right now. So our political systems, the way our corporations work, is all still geared towards the short-term. The way incentives are structured, it's all short-term focus. So we do have to go back to the fundamentals of how our societies are structured and ask the questions, because there's no doubt in my mind, having only been here for a short time, but having been a curious follower of the China model, the value of this kind of long-term strategic lenses, because here people take 20, 30, 40-year horizons. I mean, the New Silk Road is not an idea that popped up in President Xi or Premier Li's minds. There's clearly a lot of considered thought that went into this notion of what will define China's continued industrialization over the next 50 years, and it is the New Silk Road, right?
I'm really interested in the interplay between the two biggest countries in the new development bank. Bearing in mind you have one country where you can accelerate the delivery of infrastructure and another country where it's very difficult, and how you're going to equally invest in both.
We will grapple with a number of challenges of trying to move away from enforcing uniform provisions for each of the 5 countries when they have such distinctive conditions. The specific challenges that they face in India are very different to Brazil, very different to Russia.
I guess my question is, over the next 15, 20, 30, 50 years, the world is going to warm. And so the impacts of climate change will change. And infrastructure that's being built in some places today is not being built to withstand that. So to ensure the investments are actually secure investments, what are some of the advice that, for example, EY is giving to its company clients and the new development bank might be taking on in the way it structures deals?
I wish I had a short answer for you. I don't. You're raising an issue that is critical for us in our deliberations as we design the future, because we have the liberty and the advantage of looking at the world through 30-year lenses. We do not have a requirement to produce X returns for the bank.
All of us, we need to study carefully this New Silk Road and to be ready to navigate it.
Thank you very much. As a token of appreciation, we have a notebook. I'm good to see that some are still...